Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, but most importantly, happy, beautiful Juneteenth. This is such a significant holiday in the Black community. Did you know that Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in this country? So let's talk about how it got started. So on June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, Major General Granger announced that the war was over and that slavery had ended. Yes, June 19th, 1865, when we all know that Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation Act, January 1st, 1863. So here we are 2.5 years later. And slaves in Texas still didn't realize that they were free. And the reason being is that there just wasn't enough Union troops to exercise this executive order. It wasn't until April 1865 when General Lee surrendered that Major General Granger was able to let the slaves know that they were free. So could you imagine the emotions that went through their bodies knowing that they were free for the last 2.5 years and didn't know? So the one thing they just wanted to do was celebrate, and celebrate they did. However, they couldn't even celebrate the way they wanted to because celebration of Juneteenth was prohibited almost everywhere. But because we're such a resourceful and resilient people, we found a way to celebrate. So we went out to the rural areas to celebrate. And we celebrated by playing baseball, fishing, having rodeos. But most importantly, we made sure we cooked out, we barbecued food. And meat was important. Now, meat was limited to us back then because we just couldn't afford it. But on Juneteenth, we made sure we had every meat we could get. Lamb, chicken, beef, you name it. Now, here's a little known history fact. The popular drink back then was strawberry soda pop, believe it or not. And another way we celebrated Juneteenth is through our clothes. We dressed up to the nines. And you know why? Because prior to 1865, it was prohibited for a slave to dress up in public. We couldn't even dress. So these are the ways we celebrated Juneteenth. And in 1898, Booker T. Washington Park became the meeting place to celebrate Juneteenth. People came from all over. You had 20,000 people come at one time to celebrate Juneteenth. Now today we focus more on education, self-empowerment, self-education. But those are the ways we celebrated initially. And we celebrated for decades. But when the Great Depression came, we just really didn't celebrate anymore due to the economic hardship, the cultural differences. If Juneteenth didn't fall on a holiday or the weekend, we just couldn't celebrate. But then it was a resurge in the 50s and 60s because of the civil rights movement, especially in 1968. When we had the Poor People's March to Washington, D.C., those attendees went back and they incorporated Juneteenth celebrations in their hometowns, where before they were never celebrated. And the two largest celebrations was in Milwaukee and yes, Minneapolis. That was another location where till this day Juneteenth is celebrated hugely. Then on January 1st, 1980, Texas made it a state holiday. And that was influenced by the hard work from Al Edwards, who was a local legislator. He was a Black local legislator whose goal is to make Juneteenth a national holiday. So again, I go back. Know your rights. Execute your rights. Because I said it before, I say it again. Belief is stronger when it's embedded in the community. It's up to us to make that change. We have to call our local legislators and demand Juneteenth become a national holiday because it's such a significant era in this country's history. Now, before you go, I need you to do one thing. It doesn't matter if you're Black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian. I need for you to take a moment and reflect on the history of this country and where we are today. And once you do that, I want you to ask yourself, how can you be that agent of change? Again, know your rights and execute your rights. And with that, I say, happy, beautiful Juneteenth.